Hey everyone, it's Bill Duran here from Punish Props down here in my shop. Now, I know a lot of you guys, a lot of you prop makers out there, got your start by repainting toy guns, like Nerf guns. In fact, one of the very first prop projects that I did was exactly that. I took a really cheap toy gun and I repainted it to look more or less like a more realistic version of that toy gun. In fact, I'll have a link to that project down in the description from several years ago. You can check that project out and see one of my first attempts at trying to paint something to look real. Recently, my buddy Dankwish came on over to my shop and brought with him a whole pile of Nerf guns. And like the grown adult men that we are, we spent all afternoon playing with toy guns. I decided that I wanted to repaint the Nerf Hammershot. This is one of their zombie guns. I've loved that design. It looks really cool, so I wanted to have a crack at it. So over that afternoon, I went ahead and redid a whole bunch of this gun, including some modification and repainting. All of the tools and materials for this build you will find linked in the description down below if you would like to follow along at home. Like I said, I started with the Nerf Hammershot gun, but I quickly modified it to not be that anymore. I started by opening it up and taking all the guts out, even all the things that make it function as a Nerf gun. I'm more worried with how it looks than how it works. With all the guts out, I replaced them with some heavy metal. Actually, like steel rods. This way, it would actually feel heavy in your hand and not like a hollow piece of plastic. I also drilled out all of the faux screw heads that were on there and replaced them with my own hex set screws. Then I screwed it all back together. With the gun all put together, I trimmed off some more pieces that I no longer wanted. I also took some body filler and filled in a bunch of the seams and all of those ugly screw holes. All of the body filler got sanded flush, and I also went over and sanded the Nerf logo off, as well as those annoying warning labels that they put on there for some reason. With all the pieces cut off of the gun, it was time to start adding pieces to the gun. I like to keep on hand a whole bunch of spare parts that I will either use as is or mold and cast copies of so that I can have a whole bunch of them. So I took a bunch of these cast plastic pieces and I glued them into the gun, adding my own little design features. I also replaced the barrel on the gun. I added a much bigger single PVC pipe, like a giant flare gun or something. To hold it in place, I cut out some flat pieces of acrylic to be like a bracket that would hold the barrel in place. Once I was happy with the new design of the gun, the whole thing got sanded down with a sanding sponge to prepare it for paint. To get the paint started, I hit the whole thing with some Krylon Fusion flat black paint. I like this stuff. The Krylon Fusion really binds with the plastic. Then for the main color, I wanted a nice blue, so I masked off a bunch of that black just to get the areas I wanted to be blue, and I spray painted over those. Then I could peel it away, revealing a really clean looking, nice paint job below. The rest of the paint was done by hand with a brush, all old school like. I added a whole bunch of metallic colors like silver, gunmetal, and copper. These really helped add a little bit more depth to the piece. For the last little bit of detail, I added some stenciled areas on the gun, like the on-off switch. For a look at how I like to do my stencils, you can check out this video that I've got right here. To add a little bit more realism to the gun, I sanded up the handle bit, put a bunch of Barge cement on that, and then I put a bunch of Barge cement on some leather straps, and I wrapped some real leather straps around the handle, adding a really cool grip to the piece. For the last bit of painting, I added just a little bit of bluing to the end of the barrel using my airbrush. While the base paint was all done, I didn't want this to look like it just came off the factory. I wanted it to look used. So I used some oil-based paints to weather it. I really like these oil-based water mixable paints. I'll have a link to those down in the description. They're great because they give you a lot of time to work with them while you're sort of dirtying up your piece. And they're really good for like making gradients and stuff. Just remember they are oil-based paints and they take forever and a day to dry. Finally, I hit some of the high points with a silver Sharpie to call out any areas that would have a little extra wear and tear. With that final step done, I hit a clear coat on the whole thing to seal in all of my nice hard work, and voila! It is finished! I am pretty pleased with how this guy turned out. It was a really fun project, and you get some really cool results pretty quickly. Check it out, I turned this into that. How awesome is that? Anyone could do that. You should do that. In fact, if you do your own Nerf mod or repaint, I want to hear about it. Let me know over on Twitter @chinbeard or on my Facebook page, facebook.com/punishedprops. Thank you all for watching my video. If you like this video, I've got a whole bunch more. There's some right here. You can go check those guys out. Also, subscribe because I've got a bunch more coming up and you don't want to miss them.